Hello lovely people, and welcome back to Grow with KEELEY. If you're listening to this right now, while your thoughts are racing, while you're replaying conversations, while you're trying to sleep but your brain refuses to quieten down, I want you to know something before we even begin. You are not broken, you are not too much, and you definitely are not alone. Today's episode is for the people whose minds never seem to switch off, the people who think deeply, the people who overanalyze, the people who replay things they said 3 days ago, the people who prepare for worst case scenarios before they've even happened. And honestly, if that's you, I see you. Because overthinking can feel exhausting, not just mentally, but physically too. It can feel like your body never fully relaxes, like your brain is constantly searching for danger, searching for certainty, searching for answers, and searching for reassurance. And sometimes people around you don't understand it. They may say things like, "Just stop thinking about it. You worry too much. You're being dramatic." But if it was that easy, you would have stopped already. Overthinking is rarely a choice. Most of the time, it's actually a nervous system trying to protect you. And that's what I really want to talk about today. Not just the anxiety itself, but why your mind behaves this way, why your thoughts race, why your brain prepares for the worst, and why your body feels constantly alert. Because understanding anxiety changes everything. When we understand what's happening, we stop seeing ourselves as weak and we start seeing ourselves with compassion instead. I think one of the hardest things about anxiety and overthinking is how lonely it can feel. You can be surrounded by people and still feel completely trapped inside your own head. You smile, you reply to messages, you continue with daily life, but internally, your brain is loud. So loud. You're questioning things, thinking ahead, preparing yourself emotionally for situations that haven't even happened. Maybe someone took longer to reply than usual, and suddenly your brain creates 20 possible explanations. Maybe somebody sounded slightly different, and now you're convinced you've upset them. Maybe you felt a physical sensation in your body, and suddenly your thoughts spiral into panic. And the most frustrating part, sometimes you know you're overthinking, but your body still reacts as though the danger is real. That's because anxiety is not just in your head. Your body and your brain work together. When the brain senses danger, even emotional danger, it sends signals to the body. Your heart beats faster, your breathing changes, your muscles tense, your stomach reacts, you become more alert. Your body is preparing to protect you. The problem is, anxiety often struggles to tell the difference between real danger and perceived danger. So even thoughts can trigger real physical responses. And when people don't understand that, it can make you feel even more isolated. Because you start thinking, what's wrong with me? Why can't I just calm down? Why am I like this? But lovely, there is nothing shameful about your nervous system trying to keep you safe. Sometimes anxiety develops because your mind learned it had to stay alert. Maybe life felt unpredictable. Maybe you experienced stress for a long time. Maybe you went through heartbreak, rejection, uncertainty, or even trauma. Maybe you spent years carrying pressure silently. And over time, your brain adapted. It learned, stay prepared, expect disappointment, think ahead, don't relax too much. Because somewhere along the way, your nervous system stopped feeling safe. And honestly, that breaks my heart a little. Because so many people with anxiety are incredibly caring people, deep feelers, people who think ahead because they don't want to get hurt, people who overanalyze because they care deeply, But eventually, constant mental alertness becomes exhausting. It steals peace, it steals rest, it steals enjoyment, it steals presence. Sometimes you're physically somewhere, but mentally somewhere else entirely. And one thing I really want to say today is this: you do not need to believe every thought your mind creates. I know that sounds simple, but it's powerful, because anxiety or anxious thoughts often feel true. That's the tricky part. They feel convincing, urgent, real. But feelings are not always facts. Sometimes anxiety tells stories, worst case stories, fear-based stories, protection stories. And if we never question those thoughts, we start living as though they are guaranteed truths. One thing that really helped me understand overthinking was realizing that my mind was constantly trying to solve uncertainty. Overthinking is often the brain trying to create certainty in uncertain situations. Your mind thinks, if I think enough, maybe I can prevent pain. If I prepare enough, maybe I'll feel safe. If I replay this enough, maybe I'll finally understand it. But the reality is, overthinking rarely creates peace. It usually creates more fear, because anxious thinking feeds anxious thinking. And suddenly, you're trapped in loops. You replay, you analyse, you catastrophize, search for reassurance, repeat, and your body stays activated the whole time. That's why calming anxiety isn't only about changing thoughts. Sometimes it's about calming the body too, because a calm body helps create a calmer mind. So let's talk about something practical for a moment. What can you actually do when your mind won't switch off? Firstly, please stop expecting yourself to become perfectly calm overnight. Healing is not perfection. Healing is practice. It's small moments, small choices, small interruptions to old patterns. One thing that helps many people is grounding. Grounding brings your mind back to the present moment, because anxiety often lives in what if. What if this happens? What if they leave? What if something goes wrong? Grounding gently reminds your nervous system, right now, in this moment, I am safe. That might look like feeling your feet on the floor, holding something cold, naming things you can see, taking slower breaths, listening to calming sounds, wrapping yourself up in a blanket, or even stepping outside. These things may sound small, but small things do matter. And another thing, please stop speaking to yourself like you're the enemy. I mean it. So many anxious people are incredibly harsh with themselves. They say things internally they would never say to someone they loved. You're ridiculous. You're too sensitive. You're embarrassing. Get a grip. But healing grows through safety, not shame. Imagine how different things could feel if you responded to yourself with gentleness instead. Instead of, what's wrong with me? Try, my body is overwhelmed right now. Instead of, I'm so dramatic, try, my feelings feel intense right now, and that's okay. Instead of, I need to stop feeling this way, try, what does my nervous system need right now? That shift matters. Because anxiety is not weakness, it's a response. And responses can be supported. I also want to talk about reassurance seeking, because this is something so many people with anxiety do, often without even realizing. You repeatedly ask, are you sure? Do you think everything's okay? Do you think I upset them? Do you think something bad will happen? Or maybe you constantly Google symptoms, replay conversations, check messages, seek certainty. And while reassurance can feel calming temporarily, it often keeps anxiety alive long term. Because your brain never learns, I can survive uncertainty. Instead, it learns, I need constant reassurance to feel safe. And that creates dependence on certainty. But real healing often comes from slowly building trust within yourself. Trusting I can handle uncomfortable feelings. I can survive uncertainty. I do not need to solve everything tonight. That last one, I think somebody listening really needs to hear it. You do not need to solve everything tonight. You do not need all the answers immediately. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to exist without constantly preparing for disaster. And can we talk about sleep for a moment? Because nighttime overthinking is brutal. During the day, there are distractions, noise, people, and even tasks. But at night, everything becomes quiet, and suddenly the thoughts become louder. Your brain starts replaying, remembering, predicting, and even questioning. And sometimes we can be exhausted physically, but mentally we're wide awake. And if that's you, please know you're not failing. Nighttime anxiety is incredibly common. Your nervous system often slows down enough for buried thoughts and emotions to surface. And one thing that can really help is creating safety signals for your body. Soft lighting, gentle music, reducing overstimulation, breathing slowly, comfort items, a calming podcast, journaling thoughts before bed. Not because these things magically erase anxiety, but because they gently tell your nervous system, you can begin to soften now. And healing often starts with softening, not forcing, not punishing, not fighting yourself, softening. I think another reason people struggle so deeply with overthinking is because many of us fear emotional pain. And that makes sense. If you've been hurt before, your brain naturally tries to avoid future pain. So it prepares, analyzes, and predicts. Because maybe your mind believes if I expect the worst, I won't be disappointed. But constantly expecting pain also prevents peace. It keeps you emotionally braced, always waiting, always anticipating. And I want you to imagine for a second what life could feel like if your body no longer had to stay in survival mode all the time. What would change? Would you sleep better, feel lighter, laugh more, enjoy moments more fully, stop fearing every silence, stop needing constant reassurance? That version of you deserves a chance, and healing is possible. Not perfect healing, not never feeling anxious again healing, but gentler healing, safer healing, more supported healing. You can learn tools, you can calm your nervous system, you can interrupt old thought patterns, and you can build emotional safety. Slowly, gently, one step at a time. And if nobody has told you this lately, I am so proud of you. Because anxiety is exhausting. People often underestimate how tiring it is to constantly battle your own thoughts, to constantly stay alert, to constantly monitor, to constantly think ahead. So if you're still here, still trying, still listening, that matters. You matter. And I hope today's episode reminded you that your anxiety does not define you, your overthinking does not make you weak, and your healing does not have to happen perfectly to still count. Before we finish today, I want to leave you with a few gentle reminders. Thoughts are not always facts. Your body is trying to protect you, not punish you. You do not need to solve everything immediately. Calm can be practiced. Rest is productive too. You deserve peace beyond survival mode. You are allowed to feel safe again. And most importantly, you are not broken, you are growing. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this episode helped you feel even slightly less alone, please share it with someone who may need it too. And remember, small steps, big relief, real change. I'll speak to you again soon. Take care of yourselves. And remember, you can find me on Instagram and Facebook with Safe to Grow with KEELEY. Remember to look after yourself. Until next time.